part of the VSA range from Vinegar Syndrome, is Death Feud, otherwise known as Savage Harbour, starring Stallone and Mitchum. Frank Stallone and Christopher Mitchum. That's the other side of the cover, with those two really familiar faces. I was kind of curious about this one because I'd never heard of it, but it seemed to have a pretty decent reputation amongst exploitation fans. And you get thrown into these two merchant seamen who seem to have shore leave. They go to this town where they visit an old friend who runs a bar. They kind of hang out. They find love in various guises, and we kind of follow the two main characters. Frank Stallone plays Joe, and he's kind of the main protagonist, and we see him as he's just kind of like wandering the streets. He sees this woman being attacked, who leads to another side story of this gangster who seems to be transporting women and just seems like a general horrible fella, and he kind of starts this firefight with various people, and she takes the opportunity to just flee and get away from this situation. But she goes from one situation into another where a guy attempts to rape her, and it's up to Joe to save her. And they have a little wander of the streets, a little chit chat, realise they've got a connection and that they're going to start a relationship. And that's exactly what happens. And this movie is really kind of mismatched on the way that it delivers its information and the way that it continually adds things into this that it feels it should be there, and stretches out a plot that's almost inconsequential to the grand proceedings. So we follow Joe. He falls in love with this girl. We go to Chris, who's in the bar drinking. He kind of meets somebody, but he doesn't really kind of fall in love, but he's starting a relationship. They have to go back to sea, and they're going to come back in 6 months. Now, Joe has already popped the question. He's that much in love. He wants to take this woman away and start an avocado farm. Wow, what a move. Anyway, when they come back in 6 months, it turns out that the gangster has discovered Joe's fiancée, hooked her on drugs, and is now using her as a prostitute to make some money for himself. We get Chris and Joe back. Joe's just sullen, sad, looking for the woman he loves. He's morosely walking along the streets, asking questions, trying to figure out what's happening. And it's all just pedaling along monotonously, going through the motions, waiting on the violence to happen. And there is some things in here that are incredibly fun. You get one-liners, you get performances that just seem a little bit tone deaf in some instances, and it's fun to see these kind of siblings or kids of famous actors trying to replicate what their other halves did, but missing the mark quite wildly. But again, when the movie gets to the final third, we get the big action explosion, we get all the gunfights and stuff like that. It becomes somewhat fun. You can tell that it's low budget and not the best kind of production, but you can see them kind of having a little bit of fun in telling this tale. It's 90 minutes, it gets in, it gets out fairly quickly, it gives you some interesting moments, although they may not make 100% sense. They give you a bad guy that's one to really root again, because he is really quite nasty, and it's really right up to the ball busting finale of this one. It is one that kind of won me over. I kind of liked it. I thought Frank Stallone was actually pretty good in the role, even though the character himself has some weird and wacky choices. I still kind of liked him. Chris Mitchum has got less to do, and you can kind of see that he's a lesser actor as well, not able to kind of carry things off as well, and is almost, most of his choices feel like an afterthought. But Death Feud Savage Harbour was a kind of fun late Saturday night movie after you've already had a couple of drinks. It's the one you kind of want to throw on. Some wonderful aspects to it, some truly horrendous aspects to it as well. Have you seen Death Feud Savage Harbour? I would love to know your thoughts on this one. I really would. Let me know in the comment box, and I'll see you next time on Man v Film.